Hello, everyone.
Welcome to the Queers of Time podcast.
I'm Matt.
I'm James.
I'm Camille.
And I'm Kat.
And this is a podcast to talk about all the gay stuff in the Wheel of Time.
Because we're gay and we like the Wheel of Time. And as always, thank you to Lurks, our feral venerator of Serene. It was nice seeing Lurks again.
It was.
I was chatting with her a few days ago, I think. I don't remember when. And I think this year we actually saw each other twice because she also visited in Oxford like a few months ago. And outside of that, we saw each other once in 2022 when I was I don't think she was at JordanCon 2 years ago. I actually don't remember. But like the other time I had seen her was like years ago before the pandemic and this kind of thing. So we were we are getting better at seeing each other on a more regular basis. Maybe we should continue that.
Yeah, continue the trend. I mean, hey, listen, this was like literally my first time meeting everyone. Like everyone. So
how was it for you? Because for me, it was, I found it like I basically got to see people that I had met 2 years ago and try to spend a bit more time with them. But I didn't meet that many new faces, I think. But for you, everyone was new. So
it was this weird feeling of like people were new, but also not new. Like I knew people, but it's different getting to know people in person as opposed to just kind of chatting with them online. And even like, you know, I've chatted with Ali a bunch, like we've had Ali on the podcast, I think we did, what was it? Something else. Oh, for the Grinwell Cup, like we've done a lot of other like stuff like that with Ali, but like getting to meet Ali in person, I was like, oh my God, this is like, there is a human being at the other end of the computer that actually exists, even though logically I knew, you know, of course there's a thing, but it was great. It was really nice. I was like, oh, these people are just as delightful in person as they are online, which is like, I mean, I feel like that's always
that's always great.
It's always a nice surprise because you never know sometimes. Sometimes people are because when you're online, you can kind of create your own persona and have it be whatever you kind of want it to be. But when you're in person, it's really hard unless you're very good at hiding and lying and pretending. It's very hard to keep that up for an extended period of time. And so, it was getting to meet people was having people recognize me was so weird.
Yeah.
It was really, really weird. Yeah. Like having people, I think one of the first
having Guy Roberts recognizing you.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay.
I'm still not over that.
It was so crazy. So I need to say this because I think I talked about it when we recorded live, but I'm gonna tell the story again because it was at first I was like, did I imagine this happened? But this is a thing that happened, and this is a real story. It wasn't too long after I think when I arrived on Thursday evening, I had already gone up, put my luggage away, came back down, and was chatting with Matt. Me and Matt are just strolling through the lobby of the hotel. And then I see Guy Roberts sort of was like walking the other way, and I was paying attention to something else. I didn't even recognize him for a second, and he kind of did that thing where you kind of like pivot and say like, oh, hey, like when you recognize someone. And he was like, hey, it's really nice to meet you. I'm Guy Roberts. Like, I'm like, it's really nice to meet you. Oh my God.
Yeah, I know you. Or do you know me?
I was like, what do you mean? It's nice to meet me. It's nice to meet you. And we kind of chatted for a little bit, and he was like, yeah, I think that you're in one of the groups of podcasts that are going to be interviewing me on Sunday. And I was like, yeah, Queers of Time. And Matt, that's when Matt was like, yeah, I'm Matt and part of the Queers of Time as well. And it was really nice. And then after he walked away, I just looked at Matt. I was like, what is going on?
Did that really happen?
Did that happen? What is happening? It was so cool though.
I'm slightly jealous, but I'm mostly happy for you.
I mean, that's fair.
To be honest, I'm such an awkward person, and it's I love JordanCon, don't get me wrong, but the feeling of never really fitting when you're talking to people and always being like, what do I say to not make me go completely uncool? I had the worst of that feeling when I was asking Guy Roberts for an autograph. Like,
I couldn't tell. It's anytime I saw you interacting with people, I would never have known. So
I'm a weird person. I mean, we did interview Guy Roberts a few days later, and I didn't want to ask any question. I didn't ask any question because I'm still kind of traumatized from that interview we did a month ago. Because
that was not your fault. That was technology. That was technology.
I'm hoping that nobody really noticed among the listener. But what happened is that whenever I was asking my question, I had the worst distortion ever in my mic. It's like some part was speed up and some other were very slow down. And I don't know what happened there. Whether it was Riverside messing me up. It was cursed.
It was. And it was uncanny because anytime Camille would talk, just like normally to explain, like, when we were trying to figure out what was going on, audio was perfect. As soon as they started to ask a question, that's when things got wonky. And I was like, is Riverside, what is going on? Riverside is like personally attacking Camille today.
It was very homophobic against me.
Very specifically homophobic.
But what happened is that in post-production, what I did is that I re-recorded the questions so that the audio would look decent. I think it's still noticeable because the gain is not exactly the same. Like even with compressor and this kind of thing, it still sounds like someone recorded something outside of the episode. But at least it was not too weird, I think. Yeah. So I'm still kind of traumatized with that. And I saw even, when talking with real normal people that I've interacted with a bunch of time online, I mess up my words. It's right after the Guy Roberts interview. I don't know whether you were next to me or not. When I went to talk to Ali, and Ali seemed so tired. Because, third day of convention,
that it's the exhaustion starts to set in.
The exhaustion starts to set in. But I was kind of coming in a way like, oh, you seem tired. Like, I kind of want to hug you to comfort you, this kind of thing. But I say you look tired, and it seemed like, I don't know, I still don't get the difference between you seem tired and you look tired, and whether there's really a difference or not. But Danny was right next to me and was like, you don't say that to someone, Camille.
I did. Okay, so I wasn't directly there. I heard Danny say that, though. Which was like...
and I was like, I don't mean it in a bad way. I just mean that you seem like you need a hug.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm positive that Ali did not take it negatively at all.
She probably doesn't remember it. Let's be real.
Probably. She was probably, because it's like at the third day, I mean, this was like my first time at JordanCon, but by day 3, I was like, oh, my body was like, we to sleep for like 10 hours straight. We are tired.
And I had made a mistake in a sense that it wasn't a mistake. But the few days before JordanCon, I went to New York first to visit Brian, who lives in Jersey. And it was my first time in New York, which means there wasn't a single day without at least 15 to 20,000 steps. Because
New York.
Yeah, because New York, and you gotta see as much as you can see during the few days you're there. So I was kind of already tired by the time I reached JordanCon.
Yeah, and there's on the third night is where it was the dance party, right?
Yeah, which I almost didn't do.
Yeah,
I stayed for like 5 songs and that's it.
Yeah,
something like that.
And it's and so like the dance party is like, I mean, I'm not a good dancer. And like I was by that point, I was like, I'm so tired. And I'm also like my social battery was also starting to plummet a little
Yeah.
bit. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go upstairs and relax for a little bit, and then I'll come back down and maybe hang out for a little bit. And as I was going up, Travis, James's partner, was like, "Oh, you're going up?" And I was like, "Yeah, just for a little bit. I'll be back." And Travis is like, "Okay, good night." I was like, "Listen,
Listen,
you don't know me, but it
I'll
turned
be
out
back.
I'll be back. You don't know." Just as a spoiler, I most certainly was not back, and I most definitely did go to bed.
Oh no, really?
I did.
Yeah.
I went. I was like sort of on. I was looking on TikTok. I was like sort of scrolling social media for a little bit, and then I did go to bed. But I was very glad that I did, because I know some people the next morning were struggling a little bit because people were up, I think, a bit late, like the night.
I think I went to sleep at like 1 or 2
Oh.
that night.
Mm.
But so during my first JordanCon, I have some vague memories of drinking a lot more, and I saw like some fuzzy moments where I was just on a very different level. Like, you know, when you're in a party and there's some party where you feel like you're always outside of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's pretty much most party. But sometimes there's something that happens, and you're just vibing really hard with a group of people, and you're there, and time doesn't matter anymore, and
You're in the zone.
you're in the zone.
Yes.
And I remember a few nights at JordanCon 2 years ago where I had found the zone, and it was there. It was it. I remember, Ali probably doesn't remember it, but I remember hanging out with her and Gus and sitting on the floor of one of the, I think it was the Wheel of Time room, and I think it was a Pictionary thing with Brother Dan and the other.
Yeah.
And just, I was drunk. I had no idea what was going on there, and yeah, we were in a zone.
You were in the zone.
And I kind of didn't really find one this year. I think I didn't drink enough.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say, alcohol does tend to have that effect where, like, it just kind of breaks down the sort of barriers, kind of, and just, like, you know, sometimes it's fun.
It helps with human connections for me sometimes.
Yeah. It helps to remove a little bit of the anxiety, like the regular social anxiety there.
Yeah,
I think.
I see it some fun. I think one of the reasons why on Saturday night I stayed a bit longer is because in the bar upstairs I saw, like, I think there was Ali and a few other people sitting there. I think James was there too. There was Nablis hanging out there. So I was like, oh, that sounds like a nice group of people. Let's see whether I can sit around there. And I sit there for a bit. And there was one chair that I could not sit in because it was for Guy Roberts. So I was like, yes, I'm going to stick around. And at some point he came back. And
That's too funny.
So it started talking a bit with people. I stayed silent the whole time.
Oh, Camille.
Yeah, I am an awkward person. I told you. And and the funny thing too is that they started talking a little bit about the show, about different thing. And I think at some point, I don't remember what the question was about, but it started talking, and he was like, I don't know whether I should be saying that. And then there was his daughter that was always around. I was like,
yes,
yeah, you should not be saying that. It's time to go to sleep. And they left.
Curses! You were so close.
And I thought that was hilarious.
That's so funny.
She was his handler for the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And Guy Roberts really wanted to say anything.
It was so good.
And she was like, you got a contract, you cannot.
Yep, that's it. It was too funny. Oh my God. Yeah. It was, do we want to talk about, like, maybe panels or stuff like that? Like some of the panels that we went to that we really liked?
Yeah. Do you want to start?
I'm trying to. Okay, so I'm gonna say the very obvious one, and I'm a little biased because I was involved in it. But the feminism in the Wheel of Time panel
I was about to say.
was like it's so like we'll talk about it collectively because like it was, and no joke, one of the most fun things I've ever done in my life. And I'm being like literally, it was one of the most like one of the best experiences of my life. It was so much fun.
See, when I was talking about that zone, when you don't see time pass and you're just having
Yeah.
so much fun, I was in that zone for that panel.
There you go. So you still got in the zone.
Yeah, for that. But it's funny because it's a panel that I told you before, but I was very stressed out about it.
Yeah, I remember.
For many reasons. First, we had a document about what we wanted to talk about. That document was huge, and it was
Oh my
certain
God.
we would not be talking about all of it. And I was supposed to moderate that panel, and so I was trying to find a few elements that I could like point people toward or this kind of thing in case so we could speak about a few different things. But there were so many things that it was kind of overwhelming sometimes.
Yes. Yeah.
And also there was just the fact that feminism in the Wheel of Time is something that people have talked about in some podcasts. I know Ali probably has ranted about it in our podcast. We've talked about it.
I mean, we've talked about it in different ways.
In different Discord, in different Twitter and this kind of thing. But when you do a panel that is streamed and that's going to stick around for a bit, and you know that it's also like a convention when people like Maria goes. Even if I'm pretty sure she didn't attend that panel, thank God.
I don't think she did. No, I don't think she did. I would have been so anxious if she was there, but...
And also the JordanCon audience can be also quite different to the audience you used to talk with in Discord or with your close circle of friends on Twitter and this kind of thing.
Because that was another thing that you kind of, I realized kind of for the first time that I knew before, but actually saw it in real time. Our little fandom, like sort of the Discord groups and Twitter of Time, it's a relatively, comparatively small section of the larger Wheel of Time fandom. There are lots of people who like attend that have never been, like they're not on Twitter, they're not on any of the Discords, they don't listen to the podcast. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're
To me, there's literally two fandoms within the Wheel of Time. That's the fandom that is like on Discord, Twitter, and there's a fandom that grew like 10, 15 years ago and started in forums.
Yes.
Because that fandom is still very strong in JordanCon. It's a lot of great people, but it's also people who have known each other for like 10 years at least. And that I don't know at all either. And I know that within the fandom, some like to come back to the woman in the Wheel of Time panel, a lot of people have various attachment to the book series, and I didn't want to kind of ruin it for them. So, and also not to be mean to the author that is dead. And
we didn't want it to be like a constant, constant downing of the books, because obviously we're all there because we love the series. Like it starts like we love the show, but it starts from a love of the books. That's where it starts for all of us, right? And so
and the books they're what they are because of where Jordan grew up, at what time he grew up, and his experiences. And society has changed a lot in the last few decades, and we do have to acknowledge that. So I was stressed out about this panel, and thankfully I got to chat with everyone about it before the panel. Not all of us together, I think, but there was a few.
No, I don't think we all got
I met some person for breakfast. I met some people, like I talked to you quite a bit. And it just flowed.
I was just going to say, that was literally the word I was going to use. Like we started and things just flowed. And I think we kept like, it feels, and I think it shows that it hit the right notes that we were wanting it to, because we got like, I mean, not to toot our own horn, but we got a lot of compliments from people saying like, this was a really great panel. This was one of my favorite panels of the weekend. Which like I was so proud of us that we were able to keep that sort of balance of things.
And there was a really big attendance, and like the people in the attendance were kind of reactive to what we were saying. There was a lot of funny moments in the panel, and people were laughing. We also got some great questions from the live stream. We got a few questions from the audience that were also great. We didn't had that much time for questions. Yeah. Unfortunately, we had to rush out because you were taking your flight not long after. So
yeah, I had a flight so the panel was from 1 until 2, I think, and then my flight was at just a little like 5:10. And so I basically had to leave immediately after the panel. Yeah. Otherwise, like, I think at one point, because like we were enjoying ourselves a lot, and it was obvious that the audience was also enjoying themselves. And I think at one point someone was like, yeah, like if you want, we can go for another hour. And I was like, I have a plane to catch. I gotta go. Yeah. And I felt really bad because like it was one of those situations where I could have stayed there for truly another hour and had like a lot more conversation about what we were talking about. It was great.
Yeah, it felt like if it had been like a podcast recording, that thing could have lasted for hours.
Oh yeah, easily because there's so much you can talk about.
There's so much to say.
Yeah, and it's like I like that we were able to talk about, like the different examples of women that we get to see in the Wheel of Time, and the ways that they were handled well and the ways that they were handled not so well. And, we got to talk about protagonists and villains and people who are sort of in between. And it was great. It was.
Yeah, it was a really, really great experience. And if people who are listening actually want to watch that panel, it's still available on YouTube because it got streamed by the JordanCon team. So it should be available on their YouTube, and
we can I'm sure we can we link it in the notes?
You can probably link it to the notes if I remember to do so. Which I can't guarantee.
That's fair.
I last week I came back on Wednesday, and I was supposed to get back into the post-prod and this kind of thing, and I think I was just kind of dead. So it took me a few days to finally get back into the post-production. So I only started like on Monday, and the episode that's supposed to be released this week is still not ready, for example. So
it's fine. Listen, we're all doing our best.
It's going to be all right.
It's fine.
Yeah.
We're all doing our best here. But I'm trying to think. I mean, the panels that Guy Roberts was on were fantastic as well. Like we, especially the, I think
the adaptation,
one of the first ones. Yes, yeah. The adaptation one was fantastic because this is a topic that we've discussed at length within the fandom and kind of gone around and around and around in circles about it. And it was really nice to hear someone's like the perspective of someone who's like, obviously he's attached to the show and loves the show and loves the cast and the crew and everything like that. But first and foremost, he's a fan of the series. He was one of those people who read it like when it first came out back in the 90s. And so he's been with these characters for longer than a lot of people. And to hear him speak so lovingly about, obviously the book series and the characters and everything like that, but also with so much faith in the writing team and how much they love the show. I think it was really good for people to hear. I think it was even though it's something I logically, it was almost comforting for me to hear it from someone like Guy Roberts, because if anyone, if someone's going to be critical of the show, it's going to be someone who's like, read the books for, been with these characters for a long time, and to hear him say, like, everyone involved in the show loves the series. Like, they have just like a baseline profound love for this world that Robert created. And you could feel it. Like, you could feel that there was a lot of love that he had for the series and also the show.
Yeah, it was also nice to hear how much everyone working there seems to have a great time. Because it's kind of changing nowadays, but for a long time, like anytime you were looking at your favorite show, you would hear some horror stories about what was going on behind the scene. And this seems to be a show where everyone in the writer's room love what they're doing. They love the content. They love the world created by Robert Jordan, and everyone like behind the camera, in front of the camera, really care about what is being done here, and it's comforting because, I mean, every time there's a change that some people doesn't understand, it's very much like, oh, they don't care about the books. It's they're ruining Jordan's legacy and this kind of thing. I'm like, no, it's people who genuinely love the books, and sometimes they have to make tough decisions.
This is the thing,
and it's not an easy job.
No,
but they have to make those tough decisions, and if we want to be able to get to future seasons,
yeah. That was one of the most, like, that's one of the things that kind of stuck with me that I remember him saying, is that, like, you have to understand, anytime they have to make a decision, like, they're not just making it all willy-nilly. It's not just like a spur of the moment thing. They have talked about this. This is not just something like a change they're making for the fun of it, or they're doing it to like fuck with the fandom or anything like that. There's a reason behind it. And it may not be obvious at the time what the reason is, but there's a reason behind it. And sometimes, like, it's just straight up for things that they literally can't control. That's just the way it is.
It can be about money. It can be about schedule. It can be about location. It can be about cost of whatever you want. You're trying to achieve. It can be specific events within the series. What kind of tension you're trying to build? What kind of emotion you're trying to make people feel? It can be for so many reasons. And I really I think it was Ali who made that comment that every time on Twitter, for example, someone is suggesting something different that could have been done regarding a change, you can be assured that was already commented upon before.
Yes.
It's
they've gone through this already.
It's a collaborative process. It's not a single person making a decision. There are long discussions about changes. Something that I noted from a guy's comment also, that, I mean, I had never really thought about that, but it kind of makes sense, is when Guy was talking about him coming back, like Uno coming back as a hero of the Horn, Rafe mentioned that he got the approval from the estate, which means the Robert Jordan estate, so this kind of thing. Which means, like, for any changes they are doing, they are seeking approval for this kind of thing.
Exactly. Because it is quite a significant change from the books. It is a significant change.
Yeah.
I personally love it. I think it works really especially well for the show. And also, like, it's a really good way, I think, of, because with Uno there are gaps where he's there and then he's not, it's and there are long stretches where he's just not present for whatever, other reasons. And so I think this was a really good way of making sure that he has an impact as a character on the show. Like, fans get to enjoy Uno. Fans also get to understand how scary the Shan-Chan are and how terrible they are. And then also we got the surprise benefit of him coming back as a hero of the Horn, who, like, spoiler alert, they are very important and very significant to future events. So
that means we'll at least see him at least once again.
At least once more. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know whether he'll show up in, like, season 3, for example. That's something that depends whether they actually need his character or not. Because They do have a lot of stuff to do with a very limited amount of time and different characters to introduce and this kind of thing. So you always have to find the right balance. And again, it is not an easy job. But that means that, if there's an opportunity for him to come back even for a scene or two, that's also very feasible because Guy Roberts is in Prague.
He's in Prague, so he can do it. Like it's I love it. And also I wasn't aware that he was the one that came up with that idea, that he was the one that proposed it to begin with. That how about like, okay, yeah, I get it. My character's going to die, but can Uno come back as a hero of the horn? Like, just like that's a shoot your shot moment. It's just like,
well done.
Hey, I'll throw it. And honestly, it fucking paid off because my God, it was that moment is so good when he appears again and gives Perrin the shield and just like, oh, it's such a good full circle moment. It's so good.
And I think even for the people who have not read the books, it was really smart because I mean, you blow a horn and suddenly people appear. At least the fact that Uno is there makes it clear that those are dead people.
Yes.
That are coming back to help the living. So it was a smart move. I'm pretty sure if you listen back to the episode we had during season 2, for the whole, like from episode 3 to episode 8, to episode 7, I'm pretty sure I said at least once that I was absolutely not convinced Uno would come back as the hero of the horn because that seemed like a fandom wish. Like,
it seemed like too much to hope for. Like it seemed like too much to hope for.
And they did it.
And they did it. It's so funny because like I remember people like there was like I think there was a hashtag like make Uno a hero of the horn or something like that.
Yeah. Day one of asking Rafe to make Uno a hero of the horn.
Yes. And obviously this was filmed like this was not just a decision that just happened. This was filmed months and months and months ago. But it was just it was so funny to see people realize in real time, like, holy shit, they actually did it. This is actually a thing that happened.
Yeah. It was also very nice to hear a guy like talking about his death, like Uno's death. And because I'm sure that as a long-time book fan, especially like Guy Roberts was a Uno fan from a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
And being casted in season 1, being like, oh, I'm going to have a job for 8 more seasons at least. And realizing that you're dying in the second one. I was about to say third one, but no, the third one is not out yet. We already have the second one. Must have been quite rough, and still is able to see the pros, the cons, the reason why it was done, and to keep an open mind of the change. Also because he's in contact with the team, and he saw the love that Rafe especially has for that show. So I think it like I'm hoping that for the fandom it'll do some good for the show to see someone that was behind the camera, like behind the scene, to have this open mind and this love for the show and this change. And there's a few moments where I remember Guy Roberts saying that he was looking forward to changes because it also keeps the situation exciting in a way.
Yeah.
It keeps it interesting.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like we as fans, like obviously I haven't read been with the books as long as other people in the fandom, but we know all the different story beats, we know all the different plot lines, we know what happens in the books. And so it's nice that we get to be surprised too. It's not just like, they get to keep us guessing as well. We're trying to figure out, okay, so like, how is this going to still happen? How is this going to happen? And they like the way that I think they've done a really good job at shuffling moments around that still make sense and still tie back in to the actual like plot lines of the book, but they may happen in a little bit of a different order. Like we got to see Matt with his quarterstaff at the end of season 8, at the end of season 2.
We're not there yet.
No, not quite. We have a ways to go.
One change that I found very interesting was Perrin meeting Dane Bonhall.
Yeah.
And having kind of a friendly meeting at first.
They had a little meet cute.
Yeah. Yeah, they had kind of a meet cute. And same with like Perrin meeting Avienda. Yes, some people are like crying about the loss of Goal. We don't know. Maybe he'll show up again. He can definitely show up later.
There's so many opportunities that they could bring him back. Yeah.
But it was such a nice way to introduce Avienda outside of Rand, I guess. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I really like it. I had something in mind. Yes, and I want to say it is nice to see someone express so much love for the show when on the other side you still get Sanderson commenting about season 1, episode 1 events that we already got over and over and over again for like 3 years. Please move on. Yeah. You're the only one who hasn't moved on yet.
We've checked out. Like, and this is the thing. I fully acknowledge that particular event. I hate the trope. I don't like it. I don't like that it's a thing that happens. I understand why they did it, and it doesn't mean that it was not effective. It was effective.
It was effective.
It was effective. It did what they were wanting it to do. I get why it's done and why it exists as a trope. Doesn't mean that I have to like it. But like, my God, this was season 1, episode 1. We don't need to keep going over it. Like, it's what is beneficial in going over and over and over this again? It's
nothing.
Nothing. It's useless.
And also, like, it's annoying because Sanderson has such a big voice in the fantasy community. I'm afraid that is just gonna discourage people from giving a try to the show just because he's a book fan who doesn't like some of the changes. I'm like,
so we can decide after if this needs to be cut. But like, I don't think it's necessarily that it's just because he's a book fan. I think there's a little bit of a pride aspect in it for him as well, which is understandable because he took over for Jordan.
Yeah, he finished that series.
He finished the series for Jordan, and so he feels that, like, he is a part of this. His name is on the cover of the last 3 or 4 books, something like that. And so I get it. I understand why this feels personal to him. But it's like it's this weird thing of like he's taking it as a personal attack to him as a writer and as an author, or as a personal attack to Robert Jordan. And that's not it feels like there's just this lack of understanding in this on his end. Like, it's just, or not even lack of understanding. It's like an unwillingness to understand, which I personally find really disappointing.
I also feel there's a non-willingness to find compromise.
Yes, exactly.
Like, it's like things has to be like every comment it gives, it feels like those have to be met.
Yes. Yeah.
And also, like, he's a fantasy writer. He's not a TV writer.
He's not a TV writer.
And his career's not gonna stop because, like, even if the show was garbage and was completely fading or something like that, was never gonna affect his career and his name. Like, that guy already like broke a few Kickstarter records. It's fine for life. There's no need to be concerned about that. So
it just feels, and I get it. It's like part of it is maybe like when he's doing interviews, people ask him about the Wheel of Time, and it makes sense that they would, because it's a show that's it's a show that's currently airing that he is attached to the source material of. I get it, but like, come on, man.
If you don't want to comment about it, just say you don't really want to comment about it, and like, people can try it if they want.
Exactly. Like, it just feels like he's intentionally setting out to discourage people from watching the show sometimes.
It feels like he's setting the show up for failure just by constantly trashing it for nothing. I'm like, just let people try it. Just try to find a little bit of thing to be positive about. I don't know. I just wish there was a little bit more like noise about the show and positive noise, because when it came out the first year, it was like the anti-woke brigade against it. There's still some anti-woke brigade in season 2. It was a lot less in season 2. I feel like
I feel like the reaction to season 2 was fairly positive though. Like I think that's where like in especially with the general like watching audience is where like a lot more positivity and a lot more people started watching and being like, oh, hey, this show is really good. Like, this is a really good show, which is exciting.
But we're still not at the, like, we're still far from the fame that feels like Wheel of Time deserve in a way.
Yes, I 100% know what you mean. Like but I always think of Game of Thrones when it first came out.
I just wasn't around the fandom at the start, so...
okay. So Game of Thrones didn't really hit its stride until around season 3.
Yeah.
Late season 2, early season 3 is when the show really started to pick up steam. At first, it was, and that's not to say it wasn't popular, like it wasn't doing well with numbers. Wheel of Time is kind of like, it's the same kind of idea. And I'm not comparing Wheel of Time to Game of Thrones, just in the sense of like I think we just have to be a little bit patient, and I hate that.
Yeah.
I don't like that we have to be patient. I hate it. I want Wheel of Time to just like take off and do well, and for us to not have to be stressed about like anything like that, like the future of the show. But like it takes time sometimes for shows to really hit their stride. And I think it's, especially nowadays, I feel like it's rare for shows to have that sort of instant and like ongoing success. Because like there are shows that like sort of come out all at once and you binge them and then you don't go back to it ever. You know, like there's like sort of like a limited amount of popularity and then people kind of leave it behind. And I feel like Wheel of Time, I think it has the power to, it has the potential, I should say, to sort of last and do well long term.
Yeah, it just entertainment industry is a bit weird these days. Like
it is, yeah.
Yeah, compared to when Game of Thrones came out, I feel like.
I mean, people still had cable when Game of Thrones.
First thing. Yeah, people are less and less willing to give show the time to build. So I'm just hoping that like season 3 really is gonna hit, so that it becomes a certainty later on, and we have a bit less concern.
Yeah. So that people can, so that it's like more so that other people can relax, because sometimes the stressing it gets to be a little bit much. I will say, on a positive note, another thing Guy Roberts did say is we're not ready for season, and how great season 3 is. And so I'm very excited. I can't wait.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to chat about? I feel like we are at a good point.
I think we're at a good stopping point. There's like this doesn't even like cover like everything that we sort of experienced at JordanCon. So we could probably do like a whole other episode talking about this, but
yeah, but that's like we already have like 3 JordanCon episodes.
Listen, maybe that's what we do until we get more news for the show. We just do a JordanCon part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. Why not? I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for listening to the Quiz of Time. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to check out the woman in the Wheel of Time panel, we'll link it in the episode description if I don't forget about it. If you want to find us, we are on Twitter, Tumblr sometimes,
Discord,
Blue Sky. Discord is our main place to reach us and to talk to us.
Yeah, come hang with us on Discord.
We technically, like, for example, sometimes I see people like not subscribing, but following our Instagram account. And I don't think we've posted anything in like a year.
It's been ages. It's
been ages.
This is the thing. We need to be better at that. And by we, I mean, I need to be better at that, because this is something that I was doing initially, but like, life gets a little bit busy sometimes. So
yeah, it just like, for example, from like TikTok or Instagram, like there's some people that are naturally like they like those kind of image format or video format and are great at that. We are doing a podcast, and I don't know about you, but I actually hate pictures. Like pictures, okay, but like video, I hate seeing myself in video.
That's fair.
Yeah. I like the audio process and this kind of thing, but and if you want to post, like it takes time to make like content for Instagram or TikTok compared to like putting a tweet out or posting something on Tumblr. We should do more of those still, like Twitter and Tumblr. We've been a lot slower on Twitter than we used to, I guess.
We've all been, but it's been
a fucking year.
It's been, we all four of us have had, it's been a ridiculous past, like, 6 or so months? 6 to 8 months, I'd say.
Yeah, and the thing is that I don't even know whether it's going to improve in the future. I know that, for example, Matt is going to be very busy in May, so that's why, like, for the book club, we're going to do a May-June combine. I still have to post about it. I haven't... I need to do that. I just don't have the time. So...
Life is busy, y'all.
So yeah, find us on Twitter, and Discord, and this kind of thing.
All of that. Yeah, so yeah, find us on Discord. Also, support us on Patreon if you can. Producing this is pricey, and we would love to be able to do more things. And so support us and give us money so that we can do those other things.
I know for some people listening, they may not really realize that like it does cost money producing a podcast, because the post-production doesn't cost anything. It just costs my time, which is fine. But like the software we're using to be able to record all together, that has a cost. Being able to host the episode, that has a cost. We did some like stickers that we were able to give to some people during JordanCon, that also has a cost. I've been talking with Poppy Tea Leaf, who offered to do the transcription of our episode, because we used to do that until March of last year, I think. Something
like that,
And the thing is that is time cost, like that takes so much fucking time, because the software we're using for that, well, it also has a cost, and also like it's very bad at understanding my French accent. It doesn't do well with anything Wheel of Time related.
No.
It keeps mistaking between James and Kat.
Yes.
So that means that even if they give, like that software gives a rough draft of the transcript, we still have to spend several hours per episode to go through it and review it in order to be able to post it. So Poppy Tea Leaf offered to help us with that, and like we still have a month of the software we're using, so I'm figuring things out with her to see whether she can actually help us.
Yeah,
but I feel bad because we do not have money to we can't even pay her a little bit something per episode, because we are barely making enough to reimburse everyone.
You're just making ends meet.
And really barely. So that means also, like, for example, it's harder to invest in better quality, like, equipment or this kind of thing. Or, like, I bought a mic to be able to bring it to JordanCon. I didn't put it on the sheet to get reimbursement, because I know we don't have the money for that. So I just, my personal cost for this kind of thing. But it'd be nice if anyway, if you want to give us a little bit of money,
thank you for coming to our TED Talk, our Patreon TED Talk.
And I don't want to beg, but having a little bit of support sometimes is very nice. Have a great day, I guess.
After all of that, have a great day.
I never know how to finish this episode. It's always every time I'm making you laugh when I do that, because it's like, okay, well, anyway, bye.
It's because I can see visually you bailing before you say it. I can see on your face you're just like, okay, I'm out.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you all for listening. This was Queers of Time, a Wheel of Time podcast. The music is Dance of the Witches by Julius H.